The playoffs are finally here. After 5 months of grinding through matchups, waiver pickups, injuries, and lineup decisions, we finally made it to the pinnacle of the fantasy basketball season. This is the moment everything has been building toward, the reason you've been checking your box scores late at night, setting lineups every morning, and the reason why you got out of your bed every single day. And now that we're here, you do not want to waste this opportunity that's right in front of you. One bad decision, one missed pickup, or one inactive lineup could be the difference between bringing home the championship or getting knocked out early. So in today's video, we're going to lock in and go over the players I believe could be league winners during the fantasy playoffs, the guys who are stepping into bigger roles, getting more opportunities, and could have massive impacts over the next 3 weeks. If you're serious about winning your league, these are the players that you need to have on your radar moving forward. Welcome back to The Corner, your #1 destination for everything fantasy basketball related. Every single week, I'm bringing you guys the best waiver pickups, straight target strategies, and tips to stay ahead of the competition. If you've been enjoying the content and it's been helping you win your matchups, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a single upload. The playoffs are here. You don't want to miss any information that could help you bring home the championship. Now, let's get into the video. Now, this video is going to be a little bit longer than usual because there's a lot of information that I think is important to cover when it comes to the fantasy playoffs. Identifying who the real league winners are going to be the difference between getting knocked out early and bringing home the championship. So we're going to be breaking down some players who I think will have massive roles over the next 2 weeks and could be some of the most valuable players you can roster during the fantasy playoffs. To kick off this list of potential league winners, we're going to start off with Brandon Ingram. Now, this one revolves heavily around the situation right now in the Eastern Conference. The standings are incredibly tight, and there are only 2 games to separate from the 5th seed down to the 10th seed, which means that every single game matters right now, and they're trying to avoid the play-in tournament. So for the Raptors, the month of March is essentially do or die basketball time. This is not the year you want to end up stuck in the play-in and risk facing against the Pistons or the Celtics right out of the gates in the playoffs. With Jason Tatum now back, the Celtics are looking as dangerous as ever, which means teams like Toronto are going to push their stars as hard as possible down the stretch. And because of that, players like Ingram are going to be asked to carry a huge load, and he's the type of player who will likely play through minor injuries at this point in the season because every single game matters for the Raptors. On top of that, the Raptors play 11 games over the next 3 weeks, which gives Ingram plenty of opportunities to produce at a high level during the fantasy playoffs. If he's able to stay healthy and maintain his usage, he's the kind of player who could swing entire matchups by himself. The same thing also applies to RJ Barrett and now Jakob Poeltl as well. Next up, we have Alex Sarr, and before I see the comments saying, but Stu, you said to avoid the Wizards because they're playing Fantasyland basketball right now. Yes, I did say that last week. And honestly, I was actually preparing this video to say that it might be time to drop Alex Sarr going forward because it looked like Washington was ready to shut him down for the rest of the season. But then out of nowhere, Saturday night, I get a notification that the Wizards announced that Alex Sarr has been cleared to play. That changes things quite a bit. The Wizards don't really have another true center on the roster right now, especially with Anthony Davis expected to miss time until April. So Sarr is going to have opportunities simply because of the lack of depth at the position. Now, I do not expect him to suddenly start playing huge minutes, especially at this point of the season for the Wizards, but I do think they will give him consistent opportunities over the next couple of weeks. This is a young team that's clearly focused on development, so getting Sarr more reps with the other young players on the roster makes sense, especially with Trae Young not cleared to play. Young and Sarr need to build up some type of chemistry on the court. I would fully expect Alex Sarr's minutes to cap out somewhere between 24 to 26 minutes a night, but even in that role, his efficiency should still be there on a nightly basis. And when you combine that efficiency with increased opportunity during the fantasy playoffs, that's exactly the kind of player that you want to be taking advantage of right now. Next on this list, we have Jason Tatum, and the prodigal son has finally returned from the biggest injury of his career so far. And in the first couple of games back, honestly, it looks like he has not missed a single beat. With Jason Tatum back on the court, the Celtics look like they're going to be gearing up for another serious championship run this season. And if you're somehow lucky enough to grab him off the waiver wire when he was out, you may have just landed yourself a huge league winner on your team. Right now, it looks like Boston is easing him back in bit by bit, keeping him around 25-ish minutes per game, and the shot efficiency isn't quite where it normally is yet for Jason Tatum. But the important thing is that the role is there, the usage is there, and the opportunities are going to be there as they get him back into the fold. As the month goes on and he gets more comfortable, you can absolutely expect some massive games from Tatum down the stretch. And if he's available in your league still, which would be crazy, he probably should not be so available in your league. This is a no-brainer pickup heading into the fantasy playoffs. Jalen Green. This is a player that we have not talked about in a very long time on this channel. Owning Jalen Green has been very frustrating for all the owners out there. And trust me, I don't know how you guys did it all year. If you held on to him all season, all praise to you, because I know that that was not an easy thing to do. There have been stretches where it looked like he was finally turning the corner, he was putting everything in the bucket, and then he would disappear again for weeks on end because of injuries. But this might finally be the stretch where your patience pays off. Now, I mentioned in the last video that the Suns only played 10 games during the fantasy playoff window, which is not ideal. But the key here is, in week 21, they have a 5-game stretch. That kind of volume can completely swing a matchup if you have the right players involved. Now, I doubt Green will end up playing all 5 games just for health precautions, but if he does suit up for most of them, even 4 of them, and is able to find some rhythm after being in and out of the lineup all season, this could end up being a massive stretch for him and for the Suns as they try to close the gap between themselves and the Nuggets and Lakers in the standings right now. If Green is available in your league right now, I would not hesitate. I would go pick him up, hold on to him, and hopefully he catches fire over these next 2 weeks. This is exactly the type of player high upside player that you want heading into the fantasy playoffs. This list would not be complete if I did not put the best player in fantasy basketball on it. Nikola Jokic. Even in what many people would consider one of his down years in fantasy seasons compared to the last 4 to 5 years, Jokic is still by far the most dominant player in points leagues. The big reason I think he's such a massive asset for the fantasy playoffs this year, beyond him being Jokic, is his schedule. The Nuggets play the most games over the next 3 weeks, with 4 games every single week, which means that Jokic will have more opportunities than almost any other superstar to put up monster stat lines. On top of that, Denver is still battling to improve their standing in the Western Conference, so these games actually matter for the Nuggets. That means that Jokic is going to be asked to carry the load like he always does. And as the Nuggets try to stay out of the play-in to avoid an early matchup with teams like the Thunder or the Spurs, you can pretty much guarantee that Jokic is going to be giving us some pretty stellar stat lines over the next 2 weeks. When you combine Jokic production with the 4-game playoff schedule every single week, you're pretty much looking at a player who could easily decide fantasy playoff matchups all by himself. Now, let's get into the real reason why you guys clicked on this video. The players flying under the radar who can end up helping you bring home the trophy this season. To kick off this list, we're going to talk about a guy who we've already talked about, especially in the previous video, and that is going to be Nick Clifford, who finds himself again on this list 2 times in a row, and honestly for good reason. Despite the opportunity he's getting right now, he's still only rostered in about 13% of ESPN leagues, which I think is extremely too low considering the role he's stepping into. Now, I'll be honest, I went over all the reasons why he was a great pickup in the previous video with all the injuries, opportunities, and pretty much the Kings are playing for youth right now. The numbers have not completely jumped off the stat sheet just yet. He's had some flash moments, but again, he's a young player, he's a rookie. The opportunity is there, the minutes are there, and sometimes those are the exact situations you want to bet on during the playoffs. This is one of those pickups where you want to get ahead of the breakout instead of chasing it after everyone else notices. My advice would be to hold on to him and monitor him very closely, because if the production starts to rise, you may have landed a really valuable piece for this playoff run. But if the numbers stay stagnant over the next 2 games, I would say don't be afraid to pivot quickly into another player who's producing more consistently. Being quick in the playoffs is how you stay alive. Next on this list, we have Jordan Miller, and he has been playing pretty solid basketball all season long for the Clippers, and that has not changed lately. In fact, his production has quietly crept up throughout the month of March so far, and right now I'm looking to ride that hot hand while the opportunity is still there. Now, this is not a player I would necessarily get married to on your roster. He's more of a short-term playoff streamer in my opinion than a long-term hold, but as long as he's producing around 20 fantasy points per night, that level of production is definitely serviceable, especially in a week where the Clippers play 4 games. When you're talking about the fantasy playoffs, volume means everything. A player giving you consistent production across 4 games in a week can easily swing a matchup in your favor. So as long as Miller keeps playing well and minutes stay steady, he's a player I'm comfortable rolling out during the stretch. Danny Wolf has been one of my favorite players to track this season flat out for the Nets. He is a player who does not make a lot of mistakes with the basketball, and for the most part, he has been very solid for the Nets as they evaluate what pieces they can build around Michael Porter Jr. for next season. Moving forward, in most point leagues, Wolf is going to be a great addition, especially considering the Nets play one of the heavier schedules over the next 3 weeks. Right now, he is only rostered in about 1% of fantasy leagues out there, which means he is widely available almost everywhere in almost every single league. If you're in a deep league, this is an absolute steal, and I think you should go pick him up and hold him on your team. And even if you're in a shallow league, I think he is a player who's worth a rotation spot. If you have open slots on one night, drop somebody on your team, pick him up. He is almost guaranteed to give you about 20 points per night, unless he has a cold shooting night, and then he could go negative. But you want to take advantage of the extra games that are available to you. Next up, we have AJ Mitchell, and this man has missed the last 20 games of the season with a series of injuries, with an abdominal injury, an ankle injury. But hey, all that's in the past now. He is finally cleared to get back into action. You can expect him to be on a minutes restriction as he gets back into the swing of things, probably a 15-20 minutes restriction as the team eases him back into the rotation, but that should gradually increase without a problem as he gets more comfortable on the court and he can prove that he is back to full health. When he is fully integrated again, Mitchell can provide the Thunder with a reliable bench option, and his presence could play a meaningful role as OKC looks to secure the #1 seed over the Spurs heading into the postseason. And if you're worried about his production, just look at Isaiah Joe. Isaiah Joe has been dropping insane numbers over the past month with Mitchell on the sideline. So when Mitchell is back and fully in swing, expect him to go back to averaging about 30 fantasy points per game, no problem. And the last person on this list is going to be Tristan da Silva, and he has been hands down my favorite player on the Magic so far this season. I love Desmond Bane, don't get me wrong, but Tristan da Silva has been electrifying for me to watch in person. And he has been excellent since Franz Wagner went down with the ankle injury right before the All-Star break. And right now, Orlando is expected to provide an update around March 11th, which is about 2 days from now. But even when Wagner is cleared, the Magic will likely take a cautious approach and ramp him up slowly heading into the playoffs. And that should leave da Silva with at least another 2 to 3 weeks of strong fantasy relevance. And he has already proven that he can produce when given the opportunity. So if you're looking for a player who can contribute down the stretch, Tristan da Silva honestly is the guy, and I have him on my roster. I'm looking forward to keeping him. He is going to be an absolute steal down the stretch. So this is going to be my list of league winners and players that you should absolutely be looking to add as we officially enter into the fantasy playoffs. These are the names that can swing matchups and potentially carry you all the way to a championship if you make the right moves. But before you go, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to click the one that's showing on your screen right now. In that video, I break down all the teams you should be targeting and the ones you should also be avoiding throughout the fantasy playoffs. Thanks for stopping by the corner, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.